Going on tonight's wrap. Excellent wins for Dragons and Gwalia. Scarlets and Ospreys do not too bad. And Cardiff and Brython also played. Anyway, that plus some chat about the Wales squad, all to come. Hope you enjoy. Good evening and welcome to another episode of the WRRAP podcast, where we are going to be discussing things that that have not been decided, things that aren't going to happen until tomorrow, and some things that happened last week. So, showing me with contemporariness, my contemporaries, Hattie, Judith Chalmers, and Dan. Judith, how was your holiday?
Oh, very nice, thank you. Can't complain.
For the audio listeners who definitely would miss that video trick, Nick is back, and based on some jokes from Dan, so it changes Zoom name.
It's jealousy only. I'm only jealous.
And I said I did say to one of my colleagues the other day that I think this job would be better off if I got full pay but 2 6-month holidays a year.
Did you have a nice trip, Nick?
Yeah, thank you. Very nice. It's a nice time of year to go. I won't be able to go in January again. It just makes the winter a bit shorter. My daughter's having a baby any day soon. By next January, I'm going to be on there, which is even more concerning, I'm sure, is I'm going to be on childcare duty sometimes in every week.
Oh, fantastic. Good luck with that. I hope everything goes...
Thanks, guys.
Goes swimmingly well, yeah.
Thank you very much.
Don't feel for you with the looking after a screaming child, but I'm glad that you're happy about it.
Well, she's a little girl, we know that much.
Oh, nice. Fantastic.
You just wait for you can give them back.
Yeah.
You can just laugh at them during the potty training accidents, as my mum was able to do this weekend.
Yeah, happy days.
Right, so we'll start off with some rugby. We normally start off with news desk, but Nick, I think you said it's pretty quiet this week because a lot of it is just things saying we will announce things.
Yeah, well, I guess I suppose we can't avoid it really. Just really hot off the press before we started recording, we've had a statement from the Welsh Rugby Union board. Obviously, the board is made up of 12 members, and half of whom live in Wales. And they had their January meeting today, probably this afternoon, this evening, I think. And they considered the recommendations from the executive leadership team, which of course will be led by the chief executive officer, who also sits on the board. So the sort of statement talks about they looked in detail at the final two bids, but they have unanimously approved the proposal to move forward with a preferred bidder. And they're now entering into what they've termed an inclusivity period. And they say they have obligations then to liaise with a number of stakeholders over the next few days. They'll then discuss the decision with the two bidders and the management of Cardiff Rugby. And they expect to be in a position to have completed this by next week. They will then go ahead and finalise the detailed negotiations with the preferred bidder and then sign a binding agreement within a matter of weeks. So it's all very vague again, although we obviously know they have made a decision about which of the two bidders. And I think, without jumping the gun, you other guys, I think it's accepted that the two bidders were Y11, who are obviously owners of the Ospreys, and also a bid which has been put under the term the Hollywood bid by a former director of Cardiff Rugby and some guys from that area of the world. And then I guess we will just have to continue to wait and see. But obviously over to you guys for a comment.
Well, it's nice to see that the WRU board has the same percentage of people living in England as the WRRAP podcast does.
You had to bring that one up, did you?
Yeah, I just thought I'd get it in there.
I can't see why they needed to release anything tonight if they're not going to make any. We knew that there was a 50-50 chance it was going to be one of them, so we knew it was who it was going to be one of the two. I don't know why they didn't release, wait that little bit longer to release release the name. It just seems.
I think, like, I agree with you. Like, it was somebody in the Scarlet chat said only the Wales Online could write breaking news coming in 2 weeks, and it is just like, well, why are they announcing that there's going to be an announcement when it could be weeks away? But then I also think that there was so much over the weekend, especially from Ospreys fans who are kind of rightfully so, just trying to say, like, can we have some answers? What's going on? Are our owners actually bidding? If so, can you tell us what's going on? Kind of thing. And I know a couple of people got blocked by Lance, and yeah, it just I guess if you've had all of that going on, you might want to get ahead of the implosion that's about to come, because like it's the WRU, it's going to leak.
Yeah, it probably will leak. Yeah.
Yeah.
Watch this.
The cynic in me screams that it's Y11. That's the reason, and the reason they haven't said it's Y11 is because they know about the backlash is coming. And it's also the reason why they've emphasised that they're going to try and get everything done within a week or two.
And that it's unanimous.
Try and say, oh, well, oh well, it's all done now, so there's nothing we can do. And I think they, a lot of particularly fans have made it clear they'd rather it was the Martin Ryan bid. I imagine a lot of Ospreys aren't thrilled about the prospect of, their major stakeholder buying into another team and potentially moving them after all the work that they've done to try and get themselves into St. Helens, and could end up being for basically nothing. Like even if they do end up with a couple of token games there, all the plan was to make it about moving St. Helens their home, this new revamped stadium that could be their fortress, and that they could put down roots. There's no worries about playing second fiddle to the football team. And I'll be honest, you've had all this. I had a Sunday where I stood out in the cold and went, and Cardiff was shit, to make me feel really better. I mean, am I going to get a huge tax bill or something tomorrow? So because it just generally feels like that's the way things are going for me this week.
Yeah, like I said, I can't see. I'd be interested if it is Y11, which I think everyone is probably assuming that it is, because that's what suits the union. I'll be interested to see what they do with that central belt of of Wales then, from you know because it's almost like a super region.
Yeah.
In effect, then it goes from sort of St. Mellons, Rumney area, right on the border with Gwent, all the way up to Merthyr and Brecon. It would then come down across to your Maestags, your Ponties, and then all the way down the other side. It's a huge,
Huge.
To Swansea and bordering,
Powys, Swansea Valley, Powys.
Swansea Valley, Powys, all that, absolutely huge. The amount of rugby people that are in there is massive. So I'd be interested to see what their plan would be to do with it, rather than just make it out of Cardiff, because it genuinely could be a superpower.
I think for me, who's perhaps Ran Harley, obviously, if it was Y11, it's where what games will be west of Cardiff, if any, because obviously there are restrictions around teams playing at Cardiff Arms Park, and what they're called and what colour they play in. Is there going to be some games in Bridgend, or hopefully even in Swansea? Those are questions that I would want answered. Personally, I think for Osprey fans, our preferred option would have our preferred option would have keep to 4 teams. But if that wasn't the case, and it was 3, would have gone to a tender process. But if that's obviously unlikely to be happening, certainly if it's Y11. So in some respects, the winners, given they've already said there's going to be a team in Gwent, there's already going to be a team. The winners would be the Scarlets in that process. But we're all losers, basically, aren't we? So I'm not having to go at Scarlets at Hattie, I promise.
I don't think anybody really, like, nobody's going to win in this situation. It's all shit. Like, you know, it sucks that there's going to be less opportunities, not just like for rugby players, but for like staff and just like jobs and opportunities and things like that. Like I saw the other day that the Ospreys have opened a new shop in Bridgend, so they've now got 2 shops. Like that's staff, that's jobs. It's just it's just really shit.
Mm.
Thinking of it from a business perspective as well with Y11, how do they win? How do Y11 win? Because my understanding is that they're taking on 2 teams worth of debt now.
Well, they already put a significant amount of money into the Ospreys, and again, we're surmising. We don't know this for certain, but I suppose you could argue that, well, the other bid looks very glamorous on paper. We have had experience of that happening in Cardiff before, whereas, for whatever reasons, Y11 have been good for their money in the past. So I assume they would look at it that, well, we're already losing money with the Ospreys. We just be losing money with this new team. I don't know.
And I guess they get a, Cardiff, let's be fair, when the games are at the right time, they're selling out and they're getting a lot of people through. So it's all just shit.
Hmm.
Let's be frank,
Yep.
it's just shit.
I know what Harley's going to do now because I've seen the message as well. So go on. The big sigh, drum roll.
Oh, what am I doing?
Oh yeah, go on. Shall
Yeah,
I do it? Because well, either one of us just seen that
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
Wales
Wales
Online.
Online have leaked it is Y11, and
So there you go.
do you know what? Thankfully, that means we're losing might lose a presenter as well. Nick, you're more likable than me. I'm off. See you.
No. Well, we'll just have to see how it pans out, won't we?
can
Anyway,
I say something
on.
before we move on? So I have been looking at the Celtic Warriors recently, and obviously
Yeah, I
they
saw that.
played their last load of games in Bridgend,
Mhm.
and obviously now the Ospreys went to Bridgend. Does that mean that Bridgend is cursed?
It could well mean that,
Well, be.
Hattie.
For many reasons, yes, but not necessarily that.
So if you're a professional rugby team, don't go to Bridgend, I think is the answer.
Unless you're Montpellier.
Yeah, just don't
No,
base yourself there.
Come
No,
on
don't
now.
base
You have
yourself
to
there.
go there. Yeah.
Anyway, we will go back to some actual factual news, if that's okay, to finish off. If anybody else has something, I might miss something from last week. But the last week, and it seems a long time ago now, but the Scarlets did announce the interim appointment of Nigel Davis as interim director of rugby for the duration of this season, which is quite a remarkable comeback for a guy who's been out of top flight rugby for 10, 11 years. A youngster at 60 years old, but he's back in charge of the Scarlets, Hattie. How's that gone down, do you think, with Peel and the rest of the coaches?
I think obviously we had the game yesterday. First of all, I have not seen a lot of directors of rugby in the coaching box at the game.
No.
No, that was unusual, especially screaming at the ref and the and the touch judges. So that was unusual. Um, I think for Dwayne Peel, I think he's probably just happy that he's still got a job.
Mm.
And that, he's been given another chance. In terms of the reaction from everyone else, I think it's been overwhelmingly positive. I don't think anyone's, you know, upset about it. A couple of people have made comments about. I saw somebody say it's the Manchester United of rugby or something, and like just random things like that. But I don't think haven't seen a single Scarlets fan that's upset about it.
Well, look,
Can I just go?
sorry, Nick. I was just going to say if it don't work for Nigel, see if Gareth Jenkins is available and if he fancies it for next season.
Honestly, like how we were stuck in a situation. Who's going to come in and take over that job but at last week could have been a couple of weeks, like could have been a couple of months.
Yeah.
And who's going to come in and actually like know the coaches in that system and things like that? Like, it was probably the best we could have had in
Picking
that
up on your
scenario.
picking up on your point, Hattie, around the coaching group together.
Mhm.
That was very, to me, I think that was a deliberate act because in the other games, Peel for me has looked a bit of a lonely character,
He's been
maybe
sat on his own, and
with the analysis, the analysis guy, but it was very noticeable for me that other than I've got his second name, Emir, the ex-hooker, who's I think
Mm.
does a bit of forward work, all the other coaches, including Bradley Davis and so on, were with Nigel, and to present a united front, which I thought was a positive look for the Scarlets yesterday.
yeah, and I think even like in the warm up, we were saying before the game when we met up that it was more coaches on the pitch we've seen in warm ups than we've seen in a very long time. So I think Big Nige is in there cracking the
Mm.
whip and making them do what they should be doing.
It
I
takes pressure off.
personally think that it's going to give you a little bit of new coach bounce, maybe, but I don't see what else it's going to bring.
Mhm.
If I'm honest, I'll nail my colours to the mast. Similar to what I said last week, same group of players finished 8th, same group of players qualified for the Champions League, same group of players were the best team in Wales last season, more or less exactly the same. The boys that have left, they've replaced, and this is the sort of performance that they've given the head coach this time around. I don't know. I think there needs to be a bit more accountability on the players' front rather than just on Dwayne Peel's lap.
Yeah, I see what you mean. I think it's a bit of everything. Like, I think the coaches did need a bit of a shake up. I don't think Dwayne could make them take accountability, if that makes any sense. I don't think he was a strong enough leader in that aspect. I think he needs a bit of direction. Um,
We had Lee Jones in there doing that, didn't they?
I don't think that was working, to be fair. So yeah, we'll see what happens. We could carry on being shit for the rest of the year, in which case, big changes next year.
Yeah,
Don't know.
yeah. And I think, yeah, for me, it's players need to take account for themselves,
Mm.
accountability for their own performances as well. So that's just maybe that's the coach in me. I don't know, but
Disagree.
yeah. Anyway, was there any other news, Nick?
No, I've got nothing else, guys. I don't know if
There was one thing I picked up was if you don't mind me dropping it in, I'd be interested to take your thoughts on this one. Actually, is that Wales 20s turned out at the
Oh
Arms
yeah,
Park Friday, was it? Was it Friday?
yeah, I think so.
Managed to beat the semi-professional Rags 21-14. No, I was saying in, sort of on WhatsApp in a group going, I don't know whether that's
Mm.
best preparation for the 20s, considering that they're going to be playing England with a number of boys that are in and around sort of senior first teams, and France, where they'll have a number of players playing Pro D2 and top 14 rugby. So, be interested to get your thoughts on that.
Do you know what
I mean,
I'd
I'll
like?
start.
Oh, sorry, Holly. You go on. You know more about the rags than I do.
So basically, what we had is the Rags starting midfield playing for the under 20s
Mm.
up against the under 18 Rag midfield. So we basically had the Cardiff. It was almost the Rags versus the Rags plus friends sides because a large portion of the under 20s team already playing SRC level rugby. That and then the guys the Rags were pulling in were our under 18s academy. Some of those guys the next day went up to RGC to play a game up there. Like it does seem bizarre and stupid. And I do wonder, like, could they not organise something with maybe like the Scotland under 20? They've done friendly warm up games there before. I know it's not going to it may not be the same physicality as England or France under 20s, but at least it's the same level,
But my,
sensibly.
my, my but my understanding is as well that from like an insurance perspective now, as soon as someone turns 18 in senior rugby, they can go and play effectively. They can play men's rugby. right? You don't need special dispensation from the union because I'm assuming all the boys that play in age grade rugby would need that anyway. So if it was a physicality thing, why not go in for a week and train with one of the regions? And have those conditioned sessions behind closed doors and so on and so forth. Because, the regions haven't got massive squads. I bet they'd find it fantastic to be able to work sort of 15 on 15 with high level opposition. You're still getting that level of physicality. I don't know, and I stand to be proved wrong on this, and maybe it was just a run out to work on some patterns and for whatever it is, and it's better than nothing. But it just screamed to me that it wasn't even as if they went to play Ebervale, whereby Ebervale have got a load of not old school but genuine semi-pro rugby players that are men. There's not many academy boys here, but there's a group full of men, and they at the minute they're wandering around the SRC beating people up. Especially at the driving line out and scrum time and so on and so forth. Maybe that would be more of a physical challenge if that's what they wanted. So I don't know. I thought it's in the maybe could do better pile, but there we are. It is what it is. I hope they got a lot out of it.
I was going to say I would have liked to have seen them play like, if we're talking like physicality, but also I understand why you wouldn't necessarily want to play like Scotland under 20s because you're playing them in the Six Nations, etc., and you don't want to give stuff away. But like Portugal, Georgia, Georgia under 20s. I know there's more travel involved than the Rags, but I feel like that the fact they played the Rags was because they didn't want to travel.
Outside of Cardiff,
Yeah,
could make it up to them.
there was no travel costs involved for
No travel
anybody.
costs involved, yeah, and maybe
Well,
that's what it is. But that
to your
that
point
was
then,
the other thing that I picked up this week in terms of news. Really, it just stood out to me a little bit.
going to your thing about training, I said I don't know how it works with the under 20s boys who are tied to the other regions, but all the Rags boys train with Cardiff. They train with the senior team anyway. Although, admittedly, I wouldn't say that based on the display this weekend, that doesn't prepare them for a professional physicality environment. But and I know from what I'm aware, like places like Bristol and Bath, their academies train with the seniors,
Yeah, they are
so they're already
integrated
getting
a
this.
lot
So
of
I
the
don't
time.
see
Yeah.
that would be why that would be an issue. I said I think it's just it's basically you pick so many players out of the one SRC. Like maybe actually playing someone like Ebu Vale might actually be a good idea because one, most of the players wouldn't necessarily know all the calls and stuff apart from thing. Two, you're going to end up with the best Ebu Vale side, not a weird half
Yeah,
amalgam.
yeah, exactly. So,
Even
but
even if they did probably the Scarlets preseason, which I criticised them for, but actually for this might work well, is where they play two SRC sides and they play one half,
Mm.
one the other half. So you're playing it's basically even under fatigue, you're playing a fresh team. That I could see where that's a bit more. Like I said, for some of them, it may just be nice playing it, having a good hit out against a 15-man opposition. I feel like sometimes, at least from experience, even at shit levels of rugby, when your opposition's only got six people in, it's really easy to think, oh yeah, our attacking plans are working really, really well. We're finding the space, and it's just that four of us have been there to do a soft competition at the line out, so there's no way we can get round to the wing. Help the two people out in the midfield. So that's my justification for that. But I agree with Dan. I think it's a bit bizarre, and I think they're better. But it'd be better than if we got to the first game of the Six Nations and gone. So what have the under 20s done to warm up then?
yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. And I'm not saying that it's necessarily wrong. I'm just saying it stood out as being a little bit wishy-washy, if you like. But I hope they got loads out of it and they have a good Six Nations. So there we go. We can move on.
So I think the only thing I've seen really are signing rumours, and might as well leave them till they actually come
I
out.
know. Yeah.
Although it does help with the one curious rumour where Chris Jones are apparently signed to both the Ospreys and Cardiff.
I think we may have our answer.
Yep. Anyway, so we'll move on to this weekend's action, and we are going to kick off with the Dragons. They were the first up to play. Dan, do you want to talk us through what, frankly, was a much more dominant win than even the scoreline suggests?
Look, for those that haven't seen the results, the Dragons won at home again, which I think is the fourth uh, win on the spin at Rodney Parade, at Fortress Rodney Parade. And it was 35-12. And I would say it was almost a routine victory, really, for the Dragons. The one thing that stood out to me, like I brought up last week, was that in actual fact, it probably does show the gulf in the depth within the squad because to go away and lose by set and ship 70 at Benetton, albeit away from home, but it's just a game of rugby. To ship 70 points to then come and turn over Newcastle 35-12, I thought was a fantastic turnaround. Um, and the stats speak a thousand words really. In that territory was 73% to 27% in favour of the Dragons. Um, and we edged possession as well, 56 to 44. So on the whole, it was a dominant performance from the Dragons. Set piece went well. Scrum and line-out was good. When we had to, we defended well as well. I thought Ben Carter coming back into the squad particularly was outstanding. The time he gets in the tackle by wrestling people up, doubling up on collisions, helps fantastically well to slow that ruck speed down and allow teams to fold. I thought bringing back in an Iron Owen and Finney and Issy as well also helped our defence in that they were marshalling it better, numbering up better, and our line speed was much more aggressive also. So, for the young lads, I think there is some good tape to watch there and for them to have an opportunity to learn from those boys. It was the usual performance from the likes of Aaron Wainwright and Harry Keddy, and now also Rob Hunt. Rob Hunt impressed me again. I thought his scrimmaging was good. He carried the ball 9 times, and always pretty much always gets us some good gain lines. So on the whole, I thought it was a really good team performance. The Dragons were very worthy of their win. Scored some lovely tries in attack. It wasn't just relying on the rolling maul. There was a crossfield kick for one. There was a nice play where we've gone at the back of a pod of forwards to Angus O'Brien, who sprayed the ball wide to Finney and Issy, who is multi-threat in attack really. He's got the ball, he's got a bit of speed, a step, ball in one hand, and is able to offload. So back inside to Rio Day at the finish. Rio Day scored from a nice trick play as well off the line out, so that was pleasing to see, and we were able to muscle over for 1 or 2 as well. So on the whole, really pleasing game. The Falcons, oh, they're not the Falcons anymore. They're the Red Bulls. The Newcastle Red Bulls only scored from 2 errors. They scored from an interception, from a drop ball, and then a crossfield kick when Shea Hope had. I wonder whether he thought that he had a full penalty advantage, but it was just knock-on advantage. So as soon as the ball was kicked, and of all the people to kick it to, he kicked it to Christian Wade, who was one of the most prolific try scorers in English Premiership history, and he ran it in from sort of 60 metres. So we nullified them really in attack. Set piece was dominant at times. We milked a couple of scrum penalties towards the end. And the one player really I think that I'd like to tip my hat to, who's named man of the match on the night, was Angus O'Brien. A lot's been said about the likes of Wainwright makes us tick, but this season, especially in the last few fixtures where um, where we've started to put some good performances together, particularly at home, I think Angus O'Brien is at the centre of all the good things that we're doing. He's a decision maker in the back line, which takes a lot of pressure off Tinas to be a. His backfield coverage is particularly good. His last line defence, where he's picking up the last man, is also fantastic. He doesn't miss many tackles when teams get to an edge. And he's got a right boot that kicks the ball miles and miles and miles out of hand, which is, massive when it comes to relieving pressure. There's a little bit of, he gets a little bit of criticism for being a bit dodgy off the tee at times. He missed one fairly routine kick in front of the sticks, but then is converting them from it wide. But probably it's not, that if he didn't have to kick, then maybe choose not to. But as one of the club captains, he's obviously taken on that responsibility as well. And and I'll say it out loud, in public. I've said it in private a few times, but I think there's an argument to be made that he's the form fullback in Wales at the moment. And I'd be interested to see if he gets gets the recognition he deserves in terms of a Wales call-up from Tandy this week. Whether you'd start him or not, I don't know, but he's playing particularly well at the moment, and I think we'll see maybe a couple more Dragons boys called up into that wider training squad maybe come tomorrow morning. Who knows? I think there's certainly a few of them that are putting their hands up. Ryan Woodman's going particularly good as well. He can play 4 and 6. Keddy was abrasive again. And I'd also like to give a little nod tip as well, because he had a little bit of criticism last week playing at 13, was Di Richards. I think it's clear to see to everybody that, at this level of rugby, he's a winger. He's clearly athletic, strong boy, got a turn of pace, can pick a line. So, it would suit. I think it would suit his sort of longevity and progression in the game if they stuck him out on the wing a little bit more. But on the whole, I was satisfied with the win. I thought we were good value for it, and as I said, it was routine. And unfortunately, we've got some good quality to come back into the squad as well in terms of injury. The likes of Elliot D's due to come back. Paella on his Instagram said that he's not going to be long now, so hopefully it'll add some more depth and competition to the squad. So well done to the Dragons on the whole. Very good performance. And we march into the last 16 where we take on Stade Francais away.
Well done. Well done.
All right, so is there anything there you go, better. Does anyone have anything else they want to say about the game?
No, just I think Dan summed it up there, and we've seen the Dragons struggle and for so long, but it's nice to see this season. If certainly at home, they really are a very hard team to beat, and as Welsh fans, I'm very pleased to. I think I speak for most people. We're very pleased to see that.
The one thing that I've picked up on, sorry to kind of cut back in here, that over the next few weeks now for the Dragons, which will be interesting to see how the management deal with it, is that I think we go to Stade Francais off the back of the South Africa tour.
Right.
That's my understanding. And I'll just double check that for you now. If you can bear with me 2 moments whilst I use some technology.
You going down the same time Cardiff are?
So let's just have a little look at this now. So the Dragons' upcoming fixtures now, we go to Munster, and then let's look at this now. So we go 21st of March, we go the Stormers away. 28th of March, we go the Lions away. 4th of April, Stade Francais.
Same time as Cardiff, Harry.
Yeah.
So that would be the same. Now, you got a decision to make here, haven't you? If your management is, how do you manage that? How much of a go do you want to have a go at the last 16 game? I would say there's going to be a few travelling supporters going out as well. You're going to have to make a bit of a fist of it. So it'll be interesting to see what they do maybe then on the South Africa tour.
I think that first weekend, sort of 20th, 21st of March, will be the first weekend after the Six Nations. And from
So I very much doubt your...
Yeah, so regular feed players like maybe Wainwright and the like for other teams might well be given that Saturday off, that weekend off.
Yeah, so maybe Dragons fans then need to, we need to brace ourselves for the fact that we're going to be sending a similar sort of squad really that went to Benetton out to South Africa. So yeah, it's just, I thought to bring it up because that's a tough run of 3 games. On the spin, 2 in South Africa and 1 in France, and the logistics around it and all of that sort of stuff. So it'll be interesting to see how they manage that. But well done to the Dragons, last 16 of European competition. Good on them.
And we'll get on to Cardiff later, but yeah, it was similar interest. So we move on to Ospreys. So narrow 5-point loss at home to Montpellier. They're long. It's becoming quite a rivalry in Europe between the two sides.
Yeah, I guess both teams had already qualified for the round of 16, so they picked rotated teams for the fixture on Saturday night at the Brewery, and that's had quite a lot of stick online from Osprey fans, and I can see it both ways, and I'll come back to give my views on that. Another poor start at home, gifted 2 tries to Montpellier. There was a poor slap back from Combier. And perhaps Dan, you can give me your view afterwards. I can't see what, and not just Combier, who didn't play very well again, in my view, but quite often players seem to be slapping the ball back with two hands. Well, I just don't quite understand why they're not trying to catch it in those circumstances. But that's a wider point. Uh, Very poor decision making from Jack Walsh when he picked up the ball right in his own 22 and was very indecisive. And that wasn't really to do with him playing at 10. But he's well used to doing that, playing full back, and through a pass which gave a very easy interception try. So when you're playing decent teams, however much they've rotated, you can't start that poorly and give tries to the opposition. The actual starting pack, I thought, did well enough. But again, one thing I would say about selection, we gave Marco Duet, who obviously we need to have a look at, given that he's come in on loan for Jack Morgan while he's out injured. I'm not sure I would have started him and William Evans, who's also relatively inexperienced. For me, I would have started one on the bench and the other one to come on in his place. That would have made more sense to me, but I'm not the coach and I'm not the part of the coaching team there. I thought Cocker-Singer and Watkin played well as a centre combination. I've already talked about Combier. I don't think, for whatever reason, maybe we're just not using him to his strengths. Daniel Cassendi is quite hitting the heights he did last season. But I'm sure maybe, as I say, maybe that's partly down to the type of game we're trying to play. We're not really using his ability in the air as much as we have done in the past. It's becoming a bit of a norm, really, that we have a little bit of a spirited fight back in the second half. Another second try for Lewis Lloyd, who again played very well and is looking a very promising young hooker. And then when Moriarty came on and put us in the lead at 26-21, I really thought that would be it for us. I thought we would, have enough at home to see out the game. And just a few stats, I think we had over 60% of the ball, possession-wise, but just over 40% territory-wise, which tells its own story. We didn't manage the game well enough. From my sort of analysis, we often kick the ball about 23, 24 times a game, but we only kicked it 15 times on Saturday night. So maybe that was partly down to Jack Walsh's lack of minutes at 10, but also the two nines maybe should have took a bit more on board then. We probably played a little bit too much rugby. I did the Podlediad rugby on Thursday night, and Dav Francis, who's like down involved in coaching, he said we should be kicking long here and chasing hard, and he was totally right, I think, in that analysis. But for whatever reasons, we didn't do it. We tried to play a little bit too much rugby, and I've got to be really brutally honest. Some of the bench came on and were poor in the decision making, giving away penalties, and you have to ask, are they really quite good enough this standard? I'll make a case for the young props, as they will get better. But again, had we had perhaps a stronger bench, and for example, 10 minutes from Dewi coming in at hooker, Ryan Smith coming off the bench, it probably, with that type of leadership, would have been enough to get us over the line. So a disappointing end to Europe. We took a strong team to Zebra. I know you talked about last week, and we should have won again against Montpellier. So as I say, I do understand. I will make a case for the coaches about rotating. People banged up from some very physical games over the Christmas and New Year, but and the need to give some fringe players some chances. But when we come to talk about the rest of the season, I think we should be just picking our strongest 23 available every game now, because we go to Belfast Easter weekend. That's going to be a tough ask. But even so, I make the same point. Pick our strongest 23 available every week now. And if some of the fringe players don't get enough minutes, and perhaps are unhappy and want to move on, so be it. I think as fans, we deserve to see a team that's going to compete well and hopefully win more games. Whilst it's good with developing players, I think most fans want to see a team that's got certainly going to be winning the vast majority of the games at home and been very competitive away. So it'll be very interesting how we reflect on another loss at home with 3 very important games now for us if we want to finish in the top 8. We've got 3 consecutive home games, which we'll talk about, one against the Lions next Friday. And then obviously we've got Dragons, and I think we've got Ulster during the middle of the Six Nations. So it's make or break time for the Ospreys season now. So I was quite disappointed overall to come out with only 2 bonus points.
Yeah, I do have a question for you, Nick. You said that you felt that the team that went out to Italy were a much stronger side. Would you have preferred if they'd done that the other way around, so played the stronger side at home and the weaker side away?
In hindsight, yes.
Yeah.
I think they made a decision, and I'm sure they make decisions a few weeks out from all these games. And somebody like James Fender, I know, I had a brief chat with him in one of the games, was quite disappointed not to have featured over the Christmas and New Year. So he's obviously, I would think, been told, well, you've got the next 2 European games. Not that he had a bad game. I don't think he had a bad game at all. But I think some of those decisions by all coaches of all teams are made a little bit further out. Ultimately, we weren't good enough. And even with the team we had, we should have won that game, and we didn't.
I'm just still stuck on you saying that you actually used your loan signings. I didn't think we were allowed to play them, because that seemed to be the Cardiff approach so far this season.
Yeah, well, there's a case in point. As I say, there's an opportunity, if there is an Ospreys in the future, for this young lad from South Africa to pick up a permanent contract, isn't it? So I do understand why you wanted to have a look at him. I totally get that. But again, I would question, should you have started them both? I know Moriarty had been poorly apparently, but it maybe it wasn't a case of starting one with Moriarty at 6 and making a change, with 50, 60 minutes. But there we are. It's hindsight now. And we lost again at home.
Moving on to Sunday's action then. So, damp and cold Sandy Park. There was misery abound as Cardiff went down 31-0 in what was frankly a display that said, we're through, we can't be asked. I'm sure that's not what the players are thinking, but I'm going to go through the positives first. So, nice to see Tom Cox make a senior debut. And, everyone who's been watching Play the Rag has been quite complimentary of him, and I enjoyed watching him at the under-20s, not yet much time to make any mark of the game. But Thane Basham was industrious, even if sometimes he seems to be doing it single-handedly. And fair play to all the Cardiff supporters who made the trip down the M5, because they did not stop singing. And even the amazing, them chanting Cardiff are our team, the greatest you've ever seen, as Exeter scored the 5th try, was just absolute music to my ears. Especially whenever Emmanuel Faber both went back and you could just hear them go, traitor, traitor. Fair play to Emmanuel. He was just there like, go on, give it to me. Because let's be fair, when your team's 31 in that, you really don't give a shit what the crowd chanting at you. It was just nice to have fine voice. Lots of compliments from Exeter fans all the way around. On to the negatives. I have no idea what Griffin Colby does when he's in the middle of the pitch. Not why we lost, but I just utterly baffled by the man. He calls the try held up, and then it's suddenly reversed. And from everything on the camera, even the Exeter fans are going, "Nah, that's held up." I was like, "Well, you can't see the ball, so surely it's still held up." I don't know if you guys watched on TV and saw something different for me, but on the screens it didn't. I can't see a ball anywhere for that second try. But
Sorry to interrupt you, Harley, but just on the thing of Griffin Colby, does he not feel like he's doing a sketch comedy? Where he's like parodying being a ref because it's so bad and it makes no sense.
I said I don't want to pick on him, but I'm just confused more than anything. And the fact that he's there looking at the screen as Jim Botham gets smashed in the head by Dav Jenkins, and just looks perplexed at what he's trying to be shown. But by the way, that's not why we lost. We lost because we just weren't up for it physically. And as Dan will keep telling you, if you're not winning collisions, if you're not sprinting up on the game line, you're not going to win. You don't deserve to win. I think our scrum could be replaced by an equal amount of gym weights on a set of roller skates, and I think they worked about as effectively at times. I mean, there were a few. I mean, Exeter got away with a few early shoves and stuff, but they're more than enough where it's quite clearly us at fault. A bit disappointing. I know, and being cold and wet didn't help my mood. But shout out to Charlie, listener of all the pods. To paraphrase him, said, "Yeah, I listen to all the pods, apart from the Ospreys one, of course, because I can't be seen to cross the enemy lines. Not
That's
not
that's
not an
age.
issue with the quality.
That's age well.
That's it, sure. Yeah.
Well, he might be
As in,
listening to it soon.
we'll see. I said, I mean, what's another pod? What's another Ospreys pod for Cardiff Central join in?
Yeah, exactly.
See, that's what
Yeah,
Y11 haven't thought about. They haven't thought about all the Ospreys pods.
they're all gonna have to merge.
I know.
There's only one original.
We can have a West Cardiff Central region and an East Cardiff Central region, or in true Cardiff spirit, it should be North and South divide. What did you guys think about the game anyway?
Well, I tell you who I will give a nod tip to is Tom Bowen. The try that never was a fantastic finish. For me, he's got to be you got to invite him into the Welsh squad. He's got that little bit of X factor that Mason Grady. He was playing alongside Josh Adams previously. They brought Mason Grady back in, understand to go rotate things, etc. But he's just offering something a bit different at the moment. Needs to work on his aerial game, granted, but he's box office. When he gets his hands on the ball, something else happens, and then ultimately, I think you sort of went the way of the Dragons the week before. Really, I think Van Ziel made 10 changes, and unfortunately, I think everywhere you look, our squad depth is being found out, isn't it? Some more than others. That's the reality of it. Dragons a week before make a load of changes, ship 70 at Benetton. The Ospreys make some changes this week, come unstuck at home. Against a French team French teams don't stereotypically travel that well. Cardiff make 10 changes, didn't fire a shot, couldn't score a point. You got nilled. That's the difference at the moment, and for me, it's clear that the pathway has been broken for such a period of time that we've not been able to cater, to cater for that depth, and yeah, it's a sad state of where we are. I think everyone can see that when we all go as fully loaded as possible, if we could put out the same 23 to 30 players every week, we'd do okay. We'd probably punch above our weight. But unfortunately, Cardiff, I think, were a victim of rotation, and like you said, it was already been won. There was a raft of changes made, and yeah, they come unstuck against a team that was pretty much at full tilt, really, wouldn't it, in Exeter?
Can I just give a shout out for young Tom Cottle, who I think is still eligible for the 20s this year.
Yeah.
He's still in the squad.
So obviously he's put out of Friday night's game to go to Exeter, and he did well. Former Ysgol Castell and Mold Rugby Club player, and he I think he took a couple of lineouts that he came on, and he took a couple of lineouts. So yeah, good on him, and wish him well on his professional career.
Yeah, good for him.
That was one of my highlights. So anyway, the whole team tries, and it's a 15-man maul, and we still can't get in. And Exeter have plenty of players out wide to defend if they do break away, and it's just especially as we were a team who started the season so well at first phase, and now it just seems to be none of that. And I think it just shows we are missing a proper attack coach. And I think it's something I'm going to say to the end of the season. Thankfully, Mark, if we are merging, then at least Mark Jones is potentially there to take the attack. whether he comes in as the head down attack coach or not. But I mean, that looks like it goes to be. And it'd be nice having Duncan Jones.
Well,
Try and draw some positives on this situation.
every cloud.
Yeah, I think that's it. So I think we'll move to the final game. So the only thing left to say is we will be playing Benetton on the April bank holiday, first weekend in April. Yay! Benetton away are an easy side to play, aren't they, Dan?
Well, it depends on whether you rotate or not.
I think we might be forced. The problem is we'll have so many players, available players, be all in the Wales squad, not played.
Yeah, but
That's
Benetton will be the same, but for the Italian squad.
no, because they'll have had their
Oh yeah.
2 weeks we're in South Africa. They'll have had two Euro League fixtures, getting back at the strength. But that's it. So moving on to the team who thankfully are out of the hellscape of Europe, of Scarlets, after what was actually a actually a pretty good performance. I feel like the scoreline got a bit fluff towards the end. What was a very close game. I admit
Yeah.
I only caught the last 60 minutes of it.
Yeah, it was the first Scarlets game that I've got to go to this season because it was quite literally up the road from where I live, which meant that the man next to me, who was a Saints supporter, went, "Oh, how was the journey up? Was it all right?" And I was like, "Yeah, I only came from Lake Buzzard." And then it turns out that he was a season ticket holder and he actually lives further away from Northampton than I do. So that was quite funny. Um, but yeah, it was a really, really good game. The atmosphere was great. I think one of the funniest things I've ever witnessed happened at a rugby game happened when uh, whoever it was taking a penalty or a conversion for Northampton, and Scars fans start singing, and the Saints fans didn't like it because it was, respect the kicker. So they started booing the singing, but it obviously just sounded like they were booing the kicker, which was very funny. Um, but yeah, I think it was some of the best rugby we've played this season. There were issues. Our scrum had issues, and I know some sort of front row people have said like, "Oh, we don't necessarily agree with some of the decisions." Like it was what it was. We lost a lot of bulk when ball went off, and so we were just going backwards. I think it was controlled quite well when we were going backwards, but still managed to get the ball out. Um, I think playing off set piece was really good for once. I also think that, our back row slash Tane, who was supposed to start in the back row but played most of the game at second row, I think he played really, really well. He had that charge down, which was absolutely vital for the first try and absolutely just shocked Northampton. They weren't expecting it. Um, I would say negatives. Blair Murray was extremely poor. He's been off for the last couple of games, well, most of this season, but the last couple of games since he's come back from injury, it has been noticeable. He obviously moved out to the wing, and I think I understand like some people can move between the wing and fullback, but he's played so much rugby at fullback that I think his positioning in defence was so off. Um, and sometimes you could see that he just was completely in the wrong place. And there was, I think it was for the second Northampton try, he missed his tackle and then kept going. But as me then went to make the tackle, he ended up taking out me. And then me ended up kind of getting like jarred. And he was then having to have treatment. And then there was a third, I think it was the third Northampton try. Um, or the second Northampton try, I'm not quite sure which way around it was. But he flew up out the line and he was in the wrong place to begin with. Um, and it meant that Doloro could just get in and there was no problem whatsoever. He was just getting turned inside out, back to front. And I think partially he obviously isn't used to be on the wing, but also he's just not playing very well at the minute. So that was really, really disappointing to see. I think sometimes players obviously get in a bit of a funk, and I don't know, he just doesn't seem right to me when he's playing. Um, but I have to be honest, I think we it was overall quite a positive game. I think we played a lot better than everybody was expecting, and I think the scoreline is a lot closer than most people were expecting, especially considering it was, at 75 minutes we were in a chance of winning, and it was only really because Northampton obviously had a penalty and then they had a last minute try that the scoreline is a lot bigger than it was for a lot of the game. Um, I think me played really, really well. Jack played incredibly well. Um, and I also think that when Max Page came on in the centre and Joe Hawkins went off, I think that was a really big improvement as well. Um, so yeah, it was overall just a very positive game. There are big issues, but I think they're easily identifiable issues. Um, so yeah, I was expecting it to be a lot worse. I
Yeah.
don't know what you guys thought.
Well, I thought that for me it was no coincidence Costello coming back into the team again, as we talked about in terms of depth, made things tick a little bit better. You only got to look at the results before they got injured. 23-0 against Glasgow, the game that they should have won against Bristol, and so on and so forth. So for me, Costello coming back, you're right. The scrum did suffer when ball went off. Having that big lock behind the tight head makes a massive difference.
And Northampton have got massive second rows as well.
Yeah,
So
the one South African guy in there is like 140 kilos or
he's
something
basically a
stupid like that.
prop.
Yeah, he's a big old lump. What's his name? Van der Mesht, is it, or something like that?
I don't know. I kept thinking it was Sam Wainwright though,
Yeah,
because of the mullet.
the guy's huge. Um,
I reckon he could hold up the scrum better.
Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, they had a good goal, the Scarlets, but we knew that they've got this in them. Because they've shown it previously. So again, for me, I think again with rugby, sometimes when you go into games with a little bit of fear, that fear is a good driving factor for you. Now, I think there's a couple of times, especially in Europe, where Scarlets have gone into games with a little bit of fear. Saturday being one of them, knowing that if we don't perform, we're going to get absolutely bollocked. And it stood them in good stead. I would say that was the same against Bristol. It was probably the same when they went out to Bordeaux. I know they shipped 50, but they had a good, they had a real good go. So again, the Scarlets have got it in them, and I genuinely think it's just a little bit of player accountability and depth in there.
Mhm.
Like I said, Costello coming back, I thought it was night and day. I only saw extended highlights of it, but I thought it was night and day. The control he had over the game and driving the team when they did have some ball compared to when Joe Hawkins was in there. That should solidify the fact that Hawkins really sees the 10 jersey again, unless in the case of an emergency. So, yeah, it was a scoreline flattered them a little bit. It blew away at the end, didn't it? But yeah, it was a decent outing. Picked up a bonus point. Um, but I think that sees Scarlet's exit European competition now.
Which I'm not mad about. I think we really, really need to focus on the league to try and get off the bottom of the table. So I'm not angry about it. I didn't think really that we had that much of a shot in the group that we were in Europe either. Having Bordeaux and Northampton is not easy.
Difficult. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Um, and that's not excuses. Like we've been shit all year, but weirdly, some of our best games have been in Europe. They've been losses, but we've played well. I was happy that we got 4 tries, which is something we've struggled with all year. Um, and also we got all of our conversions, so shout out to Sam there. Um, but yeah, I'm really, really excited to kind of. I think Archie played really, really well at 9, and I think having him, Costello at 10, and Eddie James at 12, as he did for the last bit of the match, for me, that's a combination we need to keep because I think that's when we play our best rugby at the moment.
yeah. And it was a decent performance. And look, before I think we should get out in the open now. There's no need, as you were off air, the three of you, no need to thank the Dragons and for everyone else in Welsh Rugby for holding up the Welsh Rugby end in Europe this this week. So no, don't say thanks. We don't need it. We don't need the thank you. It's just we're just doing our
I thought
duty
it
for
was the
Welsh
whole
rugby.
Gwent region holding up Welsh Rugby this weekend, Dan.
Correct. We can have a little go.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you know, on that
that's it.
What a
segue, should we?
segue!
That is how good rugby and Gwent is. Go on, take it away.
Right, so we move on to the Celtic Challenge. And should we start chronologically, which means we start with the good and end with the shit?
Well,
The Eagles' choice.
we
Yeah.
started with a good and ended with a shit when we did the men's game, didn't we?
Yeah,
So
fair enough.
there you go.
So Saturday saw a Gwalia home game. I believe it was their first actual home fixture at Astrobonic, which was
And
very,
and where
yeah.
is Estrad?
Where is it, Dan? Where is it
In
indeed?
It's in Gwent. Here we go. Come on.
Um, so we had a woman on the ground. Shard from Women's Rugby Treehouse was up there, obviously, in her Gwalia Lightning shirt, along with their sister Sarah. And those shirts then got a mention on BBC Wales, so we were all very happy about that. Um, but yeah, 31-17 over Edinburgh. Edinburgh have been a really improved side this year, so I was about to say that the games have been a lot closer, but I'm going to ruin that when I get to the Brython game. I was really, really impressed with Nikita Prothero at fullback. This is the first time she played fullback for Walia. Believe she made her debut in the last game or the game before. She's been excellent, but her tackling, she used to be a flanker, and her tackles are lethal. She was just pushing people back like 5, 6, 7 meters, like huge tackles. She was probably player of the match in the first half. Molly Reardon ended up with player of the match overall. I believe she got a brace in the second half. She was excellent. Anwen Owen at 7, who I believe actually came up through the same club as Jack Morgan. So nice little connection there to both sevens. And she ended up making 2 huge breaks and going pretty much the entire way up the pitch before getting taken down. And then Lily Hawkins, I believe she's like 17 or just turned 18. She made her senior rugby debut at 9 and also got a try. So that was good to see. And then slight negative, the tempo was a bit off for most of the first half before Lily Hawkins came on. But there was no Sian Jones, she's out injured. So to be expected when you've got somebody with a little bit more experience like Sian, she controls the game quite well. And then Jenny Hesketh had a chance at 10, which I've not seen before. So it was a really, really good game, trying out new things, trying out new combinations, new people, pretty fresh caps, things like that. But yeah, it was a really, really good game for Gwalia. Moving on to Brython, 69-0 loss to the Wolfhounds up in Belfast.
And where are they based again? Sorry, just for people that don't know.
They're based out west. Thank you, Dan.
Cool,
Yep.
thank you.
For reference, if you don't know anything about the Celtic Challenge, the Wolfhounds are back-to-back champions. They've lost 1 match ever and drawn another, and both of those were against the Clovers, which is the other Irish side. So far in the 3 games prior to this, that Brython and the Wolfhounds have met 41-10, 48-0, and 57-5. So, and Brython also lost 94-7 last year to the Clovers, as I said, the other Irish side. So it's hard to go out to Ireland, deal with the Irish refs, as we know in the URC, but to do it in the Celtic Challenge is a bit tricky. Having said that, Brython just weren't up to scratch. I think there were certain players who just did not have a good game. I think Gwen Crabb had an excellent game. I think she controlled the game really well as captain and dealt the best that she could. I think Cecilia had a really, really good game. She hasn't been getting that much game time at Gloucester Hartpury, so she came in and got her Brython debut. Thought she played really well. Our scrum absolutely dominated, but we just didn't do much with it, which was a real shame. Discipline was an issue. Lisa Neumann ended up with a yellow, I think, for like cynical play and a penalty try. And then there was a red late in the second half for head on head, which it was a straight red. I can't argue with that. But again, I think it was discipline, and I can't even say she was knackered because she was a replacement. But yeah, we were outclassed. is what it was. One thing that I have found quite disappointing is that like the Gwalia win, no social media buzz at all. They're second in the league and nothing's really been said. And then obviously the Brython loss kind of goes a bit viral and there's loads of comments that are obviously all negative. So yeah, it's just we have a really good game and then we have a really shit game. Um, but yeah, I don't know if any of you managed to catch either of the games.
I caught up on some of the Gwalia stuff actually, and
Mm.
um, and I think they're going really well. I think they've got
Mm.
a good mix of youth and a little bit of experience thrown in there as well. Um, from my limited knowledge of the squads, the set piece is good. Um,
I believe their average age is like 22 or
yeah,
21 or something like that. Like it's a young.
yeah, and my sort of main interest in it has been through Evie Hill. Evie
Mm.
Hill, the tight head. I know her dad. Don't necessarily know Evie so well, but I know her dad. I've worked with her dad. Ryan, nice guy. So they're a good rugby family. So they must be beaming with her development. And I wonder whether she's an outside bet for the senior squad
Mm.
in
I,
coming
I
weeks.
I think she'll be in the training squad at
And
least.
yeah,
Yeah,
and I think that she should be because it's young in the terms of props.
but
Sort of development, if you like. But my only concern with it is that, how do you, with Brython and Gwalia, you don't want the gap
no.
to grow too far between the pair. So that needs to be, but I suppose it's all going to be all change as and when we go to three
Mm.
next
So,
season. Um,
so I I think there is a fundamental issue with Brython and Gwalia, and that is that the head coaches for both are the assistant coaches for the under 20s.
mm,
So Catherine is the head coach for Gwalia, and she gets on with the players really well. A few of them are in her under 20s squad and in the pathway. A lot of them have played together at Cardiff Met. They're very much a very, very tight squad. With Brython, they're a bit more dispersed in where they're coming from. We seem to be bringing over quite a lot of players that are not getting game time in England to try and improve the quality of the squad. So, like Cecilia's come in, um, Lisa Neumann's come in, things like that. I don't think that Ashley Beck is a good head coach option. I think he should really be focusing on attack, which is what he's good at. But I think between him and that there isn't a lot of support staff beyond the head coaches, and I just think it's just the wrong combination. I think there, and he's just not getting the best out of the players, and they're not getting enough time together. But whereas with Gwalia, they're used to playing together. Brython don't have that. So
yeah,
whereas Gwalia are able to build on it, Brython are. I just think it's a bit
there's
discombobulated.
more of a
Yeah.
club feeling at Gwalia, yeah. So if if the union now get away, and we've had a brief chat about the Y11 stuff, then in theory, is it from next season that the women's game is going to go to three teams?
No, it will stay at two.
It's going to
Um,
stay at two, is it? Because my
yeah.
understanding was they wanted each professional club to have a men's and a women's team.
No, so from what I understand, it's going to stay at two. And part of that is because of the contract with the Celtic Challenge,
Oh,
where
fair enough.
each country has two teams.
Two teams, yeah.
Um, so I think the three, or the possibility of having three, came from the fact that Ireland really want to go to their four provinces rather than have two teams. Um, but no, from what I've heard, it's staying at two.
Okay, just be interesting to see how that sort of works and thrashes its way out over the next sort of over the coming years, really, because there's an argument that three gives more player opportunity, but then do you water down, especially from a Gwalia perspective, do you water down the sort of talent that they got there? So it'd be interesting to see how they do in coming weeks up against the even more so the Irish opposition. I think they've got the Wolfhounds and the Clovers to come at home, haven't they?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I mean, I think the Clovers are. it was a very, very close game in the first week when Gwalia went away to the Clovers.
Yeah,
I
lost by
think,
4.
yeah, I think Gwalia can get a win there. The Wolfhounds are a different story. Like the Wolfhounds are, that's a super team.
Mm.
Like they're hard to stop. So I really can't. I'd love to see it happen, but I don't know. It's like Leinster on speed.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But yeah, I suppose it was a tale of two halves then on Wednesday,
Yeah.
and again, Gwent and holding the Welsh end up. No need to thank us. No need to thank us. It's all good. We're here for
It was
this
just
one
your turn,
one
Dad.
team.
We all have to take turns being the
We'll,
hope,
we'll
being the
have
hope,
to
and
do.
it's after a very long hiatus, we finally let you have a go again.
Hey, we got to go to Munster next week, I think, and we so let's from a men's rugby perspective. So let's see. Talk to me after that.
I'm gonna make Dan the third biggest Gwalia Lightning fan after Sean and Sarah.
No problem.
It
No
will have a
problem.
top in no time.
Ah, not if they made by Macron. Those things like cling film on me.
Oh, they're made by Hattie.
Yeah, they're made by me.
All right.
Don't be silly. WRU don't do official merch. The women's teams.
Yeah, no, I made this one this afternoon.
Nice.
Sorry to our audio listeners.
It's a black t-shirt with the Bristol Thunder
Yep.
logo on it for the audio listeners. Um, yeah, I mean, one thing Dan was saying about like potentially each of the pro sides having their own team, it would be nice if we copied a little bit of what Ireland do. Where obviously they have their interprofessional,
Yeah.
but they have an interprofessional championship, so they basically use those players plus their Ireland internationals to beat their squads. It would
And
be a
that's why
nice and
they're
sensible way of
so
doing it.
like I think that's why they have so much like just depth and everything else. Like they're pushing these players through and they've constantly got that next thing to work for. Whereas like for a lot of the Gwalia and Brithon players, like they're maybe playing at uni and then they're going away and play like it's not the same. Like that there's just a level of, like when we talk about professionalization in the women's game, it's not just paying players. And when I say paying, they're paid basically nothing if they are paid, but it's professionalizing like the way that the team is and like the coaches and the facilities that they have. And I think that's something that both those teams need to work on.
That's the biggest part of quote unquote professionalism is what whilst the paying the players is the nice thing without everything else underpinning it. You can pay them £1 million a year. They're still going to be, they're still going to have a lack of S&C, a lack of medical, a lack of nutrition, a lack of analysis, a lack of first class coaching, all the rest of it. So unless you, like we've been speaking, it's all about pathway and underpinning, the needs of the players and the coaching staff with proper support. So we could be here for hours talking about that. So quick, Harley, move on.
Yeah, so we could be here all night with those games. So let's do some very quick previews. So, Evan, just a couple of minutes on your team. So, first up, Ospreys are hosting the Lions. Nick, how do you think this game's going to go for you?
Well, I put down my prediction before I just heard the news, and it's really hard, isn't it? How the players are going to react, staff are going to react if it is the Ospreys going, which seems to be more and more the case. If we can put up a decent performance, the crowd, hopefully will give them some support. We could beat the Lions. Lions are an improved team. I think they haven't lost in 2026. I think they're 2 places above the Ospreys. Yeah, we could win it, but it's just the emotional reaction to the news, really. Whilst I might have said at one stage the Ospreys would come ahead but win by a score, 6-7 points. I know we want to do it for the prediction league, but I wouldn't be at all surprised if it has a real negative impact on the team and we end up losing. But I'll stick on the positive side. Ospreys by 6.
That game is going to be Friday night at 7:45 on S+C and Penrith Sport. Moving on then up to Cork, in the Western Island. Munster are hosting Dragons at Virgin Media Park. Dan, how do you want to go? It's a tough place to go. Munster don't often lose the games that they take out that way.
Yeah, look, every away game's tough, isn't it? And I feel that Tom Bowler's likely to come out again from Philo and the gang, and we'll make some changes, and as a result of that, it's Munster by 20. For me, I just think that they're going to start looking at keeping people fresh, rotating people in for certain fixtures, primarily the home games, and probably then the two Welsh derbies, i.e., Ospreys and Scarlets away. And as we've just discussed, with everything coming up in March, with I know we're way off that yet, but I just think they'll rotate it, and I just hope they go down fighting. Again, like I've said previously, if you could pick up a bonus point or two, then fantastic. But for me, Munster by 20.
Well, that game's also on Friday at 7:45. That'll be just on Home Sports. Moving on to Saturday's action, then at 3 o'clock, Scarlets are hosting Ulster at the Park. Ulster flying a bit high, but Scarlets bit of the bounce. How do we see this one, Hattie?
So I have to be honest, you know how everyone sort of has that team that they don't really know why, but they just absolutely hate them? And there's not really much of a reason as to why, they just really dislike that team. For me, that's Ulster. So in my head, I'm delusional enough that we're going to beat them. Um, they're obviously doing really, really well. And I know most years people say, oh, this is Ulster's year. And this is the one year that people haven't really said it. And weirdly, it is the year that they're playing really well. Um, they are playing really well. I don't know. I feel like hopefully by this weekend we've bedded in a little bit more. If we put out a backline that I think works, and maybe rest some of the players that are going out on the team sheet by name rather than current performance, I think it could be closer than expected. I don't know. We're so random this season and it makes no sense. We've beaten people we should have not beaten, and we've lost against teams that we shouldn't have lost to. So,
Where's
I
it being played again?
at home.
Scars.
Yeah, it's at the
Park
Park.
Scarlets.
Yeah. If we were away, I no, it'd be I'd absolutely be sold that it'd be Ulster, but I don't know, it's like home and
For every Welsh region that's playing it, for me, it comes down to selection.
yeah.
If the Dragons decide to go fully loaded out the Munster, I change my prediction a little bit. I just can't see. And if Scarlet's going to make some changes, same for the Ospreys and Cardiff. That's how much of a knife edge I think that when we've seen that in recent weeks, is the proof's been in the pudding. It's on a knife edge for selection. So I think yeah, Ulster would go into it as favourites. Hattie, I agree with you completely. But if you go fully loaded at home, there's you've got Costello back. There's no new coach bounce, all the rest. There's no reason why you can't turn them over. You did it with Glasgow.
Exactly. We did it to Cardiff.
Did it to Cardiff. There you go.
Sorry, Holly.
What's the point in bragging about beating a team that won't exist in a few months? When you hear about the car sprays, that'll be all those records will be gone.
Luckily,
As long as the shirt's got black feathers on, might be blue and black. We've got to have some feathers on. Actually, you could maybe
I
design
can
a
live
new
with
shirt
that.
for us,
I was going to say their shirts are already blue and black.
but we could put some white feathers on it.
Like I said, the Ospreys have been training in effectively Cardiff gear for most of the season, so it's only fair. Moving on to the final game. So Cardiff Benton again, Premier Sports. So our customary slot of 1:45. Uh, always have the first game against Benetton. I don't know how fully loaded they're going to go before they lose some Italian internationals. Won't have as many as they had in the past, with lots of them there picking up their contracts in France. Benton have done well to secure a top seeding in Challenge Cup, so it's going to be you go fully loaded against us. Cardiff, I think, need a big performance. It's going to be the last chance for all our top guys before they do Wales duty to play. I is going through this one. I think the Cardiff Park crowd, but again, similar to Nick, it depends how much that means later and players. I think it's going west and keep us in the sort of top half of the league for another week. Yeah. I think now all that's left really is we quickly go through our predictions. So for me, I've gone Ospreys by 12 because I do think from home. Ospreys from home. So I think they'll go by 12. I think Munster will beat Dragons by 9, Scarlets by 2, and Cardiff by 5. Nick, on to you.
I'll go Ospreys by 6. Like Dan said, it's a difficult one to call, but if past form around selection, you've got to go Munster by. I'll go Munster by 17 if Dragons don't send a team out there. I think Cardiff will win by 7, and I'm going Scarlets by 3.
That's good. Right, Hattie, on to you.
Ooh, I'm going to go Ospreys by 9, Munster by 14. Sorry, Dan. I'm going to say Scarlets by 2. It's going to be a nail biter. And I'll be nice. I'll say Cardiff by 5.
Last but not least, Dan. So you sticking with your Munster by 20?
Yeah, I don't want to cheat you and say it's going to depend on selection, but I think if we went fully loaded, I think we'd still lose, but it'd be like we could come within 7 and pick up a bonus point. But if we send out a similar team to Bennett, then we lose by 20. So that's what I'll stick with. Scarlets by 5. Ospreys by 10, and Cardiff by 8.
Aizen, so I think time to get on. Do you guys want to talk about the upcoming Wales squad, or should we save it to next week when we have the
park
squad?
it till next week until we've got the squad?
Yep, sounds good to me. So all that's left to say is apologies for my microphone, which seems to be messing up as usual. I may bother getting a new one, depends on whether I stick around. Thank you, Hattie. Thank you, Judith. And thank you, Dan. And thank you all for listening. Good night.
Good night,
That's that.
everyone.
Nasta.